the Order Paper, your express ticket to the New Zealand House of Representatives. Every episode, we unravel the complex world of legislation, debate, and democracy. From bills to select committees, we've got it all covered. So fasten your seatbelts because you're about to dive deep into the heart of New Zealand's political landscape. Stay tuned, stay informed, and stay engaged with the Order Paper podcast.
And welcome to today's inaugural Order Paper podcast, where we'll be dissecting the laws going through the House of Representatives and finding out what bills, what amendments, and what happens on there. Now, today I'd like to sit down there and introduce you to our two panelists. We are basically doing this week, we're going in-house. We've got Stacey Ryan, who is our producer, if you remember from doing all the shows. How are you, Stacey?
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm alive now.
And we've got Blake. Your screen has rotated, Blake. Are you able to try and flip it around?
Yeah, I noticed that. I don't know why.
Okay. When you get it back, we'll bring you back in.
I don't know how to turn it.
Oh, just turn the tablet over and see what changes.
It was fine before.
I know. This is very annoying.
Okay. This is awkward.
I know. Awkward when you do things live. This is when things go wrong.
See, this is normally when we cut to a screen and say we're having technical difficulties, but we don't have that prepared for this time.
I can't turn it because I'm on a browser.
Yeah. All the fun stuff there. And yeah, Murphy's Law, it's perfect beforehand, but then it sits down and goes out of action when something goes wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So Blake, why don't you give us an introduction to the It's in the Ballot and Order Paper fans of who you are and what made you become a panelist and be part of our It's in the Ballot and Order Paper team.
So again, apologies for the screen, but I don't know why. So I decided to be able to come on and join It's in the Ballot because I was really inspired by what you guys do, and I do a bit of disability advocacy, and I thought it'd be a good way to help everyone. I'm looking forward to joining in the future, as well as now. So,
and also, Stacey, what's brought you on the show today? Jumping into the a panelist seat.
So for anyone that doesn't know, I've been with Ballot since 2020 general elections. I've jumped into the Order Paper today because our usual panelist is unfortunately sorting out her financial life for the end of the financial year and couldn't be here today. So yes, I offered to jump in and ask all the layman's questions because even being the producer and so I've been cameraman, I've been head cameraman, I've been candidate liaison, I've now been producer and remote editor. I still don't understand all of the processes behind how.
And you've also hosted a few shows.
I've also hosted a few shows. So I wanted to jump in and ask the questions that people like me who don't understand all the things about how Parliament works will be asking.
Certainly right, and yes, and I do remember the one show that my dad turned up that you were hosting. He just sat there and said, he just goes, different person there, brilliant show, absolutely love it, and Stacey was the right choice. Which I think that was Hutt City Council District at Large Part 1.
It was the
one that they turned up unannounced.
Yes, it was Women's Suffrage Day as well, I believe.
Yes, it was. Yes, yeah. Oh, heck. Yes, and for anyone who knows, Angela McLeod was one of the hosts on the 2023 Women's Suffrage Day show.
Who was supposed to be here today, but can't.
Yeah. So yes, she's a familiar fan and all that. Okay, so let's get up to the nitty gritty stuff here. So on Tuesday, This is what happened in Parliament. They swore in a new member, or a returning member, Glenn Bennett, who was the former MP for New Plymouth. Then they had questions for the minister. We're not going to bother about question day. If someone wants to do a question day podcast, they can sit there and do that. It's a bit tedious, in my opinion. They also did an urgent debate on Gaza, and then they got to the juicy bit that we want to talk about, the taxation annual rates 2022-2023 bill. And they put in a motion to go into extended sitting. Extended sitting is like a mild version of urgency, but it's how do I call it? Everyone agrees sort of thing. When the House goes into extended sitting, it means the calendar extends to 1 p.m. the following day to go to move that bill through, but it doesn't jump to the next stage in the legislative process. Only in urgency, a bill can jump to the next stage. Once you finish the bill, you have to wait to it will have to end up on the next order paper day. So going through there, they also had made a speech by Dr. Lawrence, was it Zuman? I think that's how you say his name, who replaced Efeso Collins as list MP. And the bill they moved on was the taxation annual rates 2023-2024. Oh, okay, so that's one. Oh, and also the other one was the appropriations 2022-2023 confirmation bill, which is a bill that is required under the now it says no, it's not that one there. No, these are the lovely statements they sit there and say there. It's a bill that is required to be done under it, and it also brings up some interesting things there, interesting about ACC and work and income. So the bill went to Committee of the House. Committee of the House is where the Speaker's chair gets vacated, and then the members, and then the committee chair, which is usually deputy speaker or below, sits in the chair. That's where the clerk of the House normally would sit. The minister sits to the right, and the clerk sits to the left. And in this particular case, this is where MPs can question the minister to show actually what they know doing it. Now, in this particular time, it was the Honourable Simon Watts, who's the Minister for Revenue, would be doing this. So we'll show off a clip of a bit of questioning from the Honourable Barbara Edmonds here, Labour's finance spokesperson, and we'll also show a bit from, what's it called? The Honourable Deborah Russell, which is the Revenue spokesperson.
I don't know why it has no sound.
Yep. I'm getting that too.
At least we have subtitles.
Well, watching this, I'm going to try and figure out why the camera is upside down.
Just hold on a moment. It's the sound does not seem to be wanting to come through. So
Yep, that's what I just said, Sam.
no, I was going through there thinking like there's no sound coming through. That's weird.
And I can't control the sound because it's coming from your computer.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Um,
When you want to play a clip in there, which we'll minimise Barbara Edmonds for the moment. Sorry, Barbara. Where can I send the sound? Now, is there an option in there where I can put a?
While you're doing that, Sam, I'm just going to try and fix
yourself.
Right, well, we'll do that for you.
Now let's go.
And then when you pop back, we'll pull you back in. Take two, try again.
Here's. Okay, let's start off with Barb.
A lump sum payment.
There we go.
The bill looks to provide an alternative tax treatment for those two types of backdated lump sum payments. And so basically what it says is it looks over the past 4 years. If for any reason the Commissioner at a later date, so once the assessment is made, it's been basically the tax treatment's been applied, but for any reason that the tax assessment needs to be reopened at a future date, would interest and penalties apply for that new opinion or for that new assessment by the Commissioner looking forward? Because there are no, I'm not too sure whether there needed to be any provisions to basically either ensure that they're not subject to interest and penalties, which would be covered in Part 3 of this particular bill. But if the Minister can provide any advice as to whether they would apply in the future if the Commissioner decides to reopen an assessment. And if I look at the particular features of those two, of what's actually in the bill in relation to the backdating, it says that for ACC, the lump sum payment would be taxed at the recipient's average tax rate for the 4 years prior. And then for MSD, the tax deducted by MSD would be assumed as the final amount of tax owed, which is why my question is what happens though, even though it's a full and final, or it says a final amount of tax owed for the MSD payment, what happens in the future of the ACC payment? Why is the ACC payment not a full and final and therefore not subject to interest? I mean, interest and penalties, does that apply for the purposes of the Tax Administration Act? Even though that's covered in Part 2, there is nothing in Clause 3 which would either give some guidance as to whether it would or it wouldn't, because it's quite clear MSD backdated MSD entitlements as a full and final, but for ACC it looks over the 4 years. So if the Minister can provide any clarification whether it would apply for the Tax Administration Act, I think it's just important that for taxpayers who may be in this position, and again we've covered basically through the Select Committee process that they are quite vulnerable people. For most of the part, we've had a number of submissions where people have been saying that they've been waiting for these payments, they've suffered an injury, or for whatever reason their entitlements had been cut back, but actually MSD and ACC have come to a position where actually, yes, you are entitled to this, we are looking backwards, you're going to get a lump sum. So I just want to make sure that this is not a decision that if the Commissioner cannot reopen, and if so, that interest and penalties for the purposes of the Tax Administration Act wouldn't apply.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Okay.
The Honourable Deborah.
For those who are wondering at the moment, so the Minister has yet to answer the question, so we'll now go on to MP Honourable Deborah Russell, who can sit there and who will continue with her rounds of questions. And I think we've got some good news. Your screen's back where it should be.
Well done.
I had to reboot it again.
Oh, that doesn't sound fun.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Okay, so let's continue. We'll continue on.
Russell.
I am looking forward to hearing the Minister's answers on some of these questions. So we've raised 2 questions so far, in which hopefully we'll be getting an answer from the Minister. So there's another section on which I would like to get some guidance from the Minister as to what is going on here. And so I want to direct the Minister's attention. It's Part 3, clause, it says clause 71D, but it's, so it's clause 72 I want to have a look at, and which the Minister will find on page 80, and it inserts new section 92BA of the Income Tax Act. And so what it does here is just looking at this new section. It says that it talks about taxpayers being required to provide a multinational top-up tax return for a fiscal year. So just to remind people, what's going on here is, under the global anti-base erosion rules, is that in countries which have bought into these rules, and there's quite a few of them, multinational enterprises are required to pay a minimum level of tax, and that's assessed in a couple of ways. And if they don't pay that minimum level of tax, then they have to pay a top-up tax to the, in this case, to Inland Revenue New Zealand for multinational enterprises that are caught in New Zealand, that are a part of this in New Zealand. So the taxpayers are required to provide a multinational top-up tax return. So ordinary old tax return, like most of us have to do, so it'll be rather more complicated for a multinational enterprise. But first of all, they must make an assessment of the amount payable. So the taxpayer themselves, the multinational enterprise themselves, has to make an assessment of the tax payable. So in other words, the multinational enterprise has to assess their own tax themselves. And I'm just curious about that, because we heard from the Minister yesterday in part 2 that these multinational enterprises also have case managers at Inland Revenue Department. And those case managers, obviously see what the multinational, in fact, the Minister was telling us that the fact that they had case managers was going to make it easier for the multinational enterprises to comply with the law, because the case managers would be able to ensure that the multinational enterprise knew where they could find the rules and so on. But that is interesting, because that, to me, was the case manager getting involved in the assessment of tax. But here in this clause, we have the taxpayer being required to make an assessment themselves of the amount of tax that they ought to pay. So there's a little bit of a tension there, tension there, I suppose, as to what's going on. I just want to make, I want to understand what's going on there with the multinational enterprises as to why they are assessing the taxes themselves. But then it's, so they provide the return, and then the assessment is dated at the date that the return is received at the office of the department. So basically, the multinational enterprise assesses their own tax and puts it in a return. So there's some process going on there whereby they assess their own tax. But then the date at which the assessment is made, now this is in 92BA2, is the date on which the return is received. Now that's a little bit confusing. I'd like the Minister to explain just exactly how that works. So first of all, they are assessing their own tax, but then the assessment is made when the tax is received at the department. That's on the face of that looks confusing. It looks a little bit odd, and I would like the Minister to explain exactly what is going on in that process, just so we can be sure that these global anti-base erosion rules are going to work fairly for everyone. Thank you.
The joys of everyone having access to the controls. Cool.
I know. This is what happens when you got two people in the driver's seat.
At least my camera's holding this down.
Yeah, so now that's going to sound a little bit confusing there, like assessing your own assessment for tax. Now, I can certainly tell you, I assess the Coffee Carts, or Be Here Limited's GST returns. So this is a bit confusing there. Like, it makes it sound like they're doing something scrupulous. Now, I'll be honest. As a small business owner, I don't have an IRD case manager. But these multinationals, by the sounds of it, do.
Yeah.
But yet it still sounds like they have to assess their own taxes. So what's the point of them having a case manager?
Well, unless it's someone to go through the verifications. I mean, I do know supermarkets are subject to, like, you've got to have, like, a supermarket has to be audited every year when they do their tax return. It's not just, they just can't say, here's my figures and take me for my word. They actually have to go for, like, PricewaterhouseCoopers to actually sit down there and do that sort of stuff. I do know that's one of the departments on their awkward moment. Yeah. Oh, let's see what the minister has to
Choice of
reply.
live streaming.
The Honourable Simon Watts.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and it's good to be back this morning. The question from the Honourable Barbara Edmonds in regards to backdated lump sum payment changes is not in scope of this Part 3 of the bill that we're referring to at the moment. The questions in regards to reassessment and the implications around penalties that could or may apply. Well, obviously in circumstances where a reassessment is undertaken, there is scope for the application of penalties if that reassessment derives a point of difference in which those penalties would be subject. So I don't think that aspect is surprising. We covered penalties extensively last evening as well, but I'm happy to provide a little bit more context for the Honourable Dr. Deborah Russell in regards to the questions. I think it was in regards to Clause 69, which is primarily around what that allows us in terms of the registration of those 20 to 25 entities. It ensures that they provide the appropriate level of reporting that allows the assessment of the tax. It also ensures that the appropriate information flows come from those entities to Inland Revenue in order to determine their taxable status. Overall, the purposes of that, again consistent with other aspects of tax legislation, ensure that IRD can actually operationalise the implications of this legislation.
Okay, so we think we have a bit of an idea of what's happened on there. So that is what happens when MPs question the minister on things. And typically the questions tend to come from the opposition. They don't tend to come from the government benches necessarily, but that's meant to show that they have knowledge in their legislation. Now, were you both satisfied by the response and that answer?
I've always liked, because I've been watching this for a couple of weeks, although I missed that bit when it was on. But I like Barbara's ideas, to be honest. So, yeah. A bit unsure on the minister at the moment, but hopefully I warm to him a little bit over time.
Yeah, Stacey.
Sorry, I'm getting attacked. Bugs. No, not particularly impressed, I would say, with the answer. It felt like he didn't understand the exact line of questioning and was just, doing what I do and trying to fluff his way through it.
So you, from what you've just seen on there, it looks like he's trying to fluff his way through rather than actually answer the question.
Yes.
Can I add, please?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a bit like what many of our political commentary friends that we know have been saying for a few weeks now, that a lot of the current national MPs don't seem to like to ask the questions that much in detail.
Yes, I can picture Penny Simmons might be in that boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, being blunt, he's just another example of what they're going through at the moment. No answers.
So that's a little brief glimpse of what happens with a appropriations debate. The Committee of the House is probably the most powerful and eventful section in there. So we will give Tuesday the end, and we will now shift over to Wednesday, where it was a much more exciting day in the House, and we'll get back to now it's meant to be okay. Oh heck, okay. Oh heck, that's actually quite useful. Okay, so there were 4 bills that went through the House of Representatives on Wednesday. The first bill, which is the Regulatory Systems Amendment Bill, which It says here, around here, the policy objective of this omnibus bill is to improve regulatory systems as it goes through the House of Representatives. And the bill has gone for its first reading, so and now it's off to having select committees for what is it called? Submissions. You can put in a submission. You can put in a submission. So effectively, from the Hansard, it talks about the the bill amends this particular bill, this omnibus bill will amend 19 acts, as well as a handful of associated regulations across 5 ministerial portfolios. God, this sounds confusing. I wish Angela was here. The bill would do agriculture, biosecurity, food safety, forestry, oceans, and fisheries held by, this is what Tom McClay said, held by myself, Minister Jones, and Minister Hoggett, which would be 3 ministers in the 3 cabinet ministers, and it would go through with the Animal Products Act. Quite a fair bit. God, these Hansards are a bit confusing to read.
Yeah. I'm not good at those yet.
No. This is something on there. Now this is a friend of Angela's, the Honourable Mark Patterson. Angela has dealt with him before and really, has spoken very highly of Mark Patterson. Issues raised on behalf of. Okay, so that was New Zealand's first speech. Then it was Arena Williams. But effectively, by the sounds of it, the bill passed unanimously its first reading and has unanimously been put forward for to the Primary Production Select Committee. So, which if we go back there, it actually will be able to tell us what in the Select Committee. If we go to submissions, it will actually say, doesn't actually give that much detail of what's actually happening in the Select Committee in there. Yeah.
And just as a side note,
Yes.
because even on my computer screen, it's really hard to read what you've got on screen. I am going to post the links into the chats for everything that we're streaming on, so that if people can't see what's going on, click on the link and you can check it out for yourself at some point when you want to.
Thank you for that, Stacey. Yes, it's good of having 2 people in the driver's seat. I think that's
My brain works sometimes.
Yeah. So effectively, it's going for the bill. So the bill. Amendments to the. So he. Oh no, wrong bill. No, that's the next one on there. That's what I was like, feeling like a bill about primary industries, administering the Education Act. So effectively, the bill, it looks like they really need a good summary section so us can sit there and describe this.
Also, on the links that I am posting, there is a section to make a submission if the public would like to. So if you want to do that, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it is between first reading and second reading, so that would make complete sense. I think we're a bit over our head on this particular bill of trying to do things. It does. So it does mention on here. It is to make an amendments to the Agricultural Compounds and Veterinary Medicines Act 1997, and it does highlight it would be about the renewal of registration and decision on applications for renewal, and the director may set off certain things in there. So that's the thing in there. the approval. So the bits are highlighted by the looks of it. It sounded like the amendments they plan to put through that includes changing fees, sort of things, which makes sense. I mean, inflation happens. I mean, considering it passed first reading, no issues. It wasn't actually a problem at all. It's also to make amendments to the Fisheries Act 1996.
I thought
And
that was
also to the
separate.
Forestry to the Forestry Act 1949. Amendments to the Kaikoura Marine Management Act 2014.
So basically,
Wow.
in short, more changes to everything.
Well, it did state it
Basically.
was an omnibus bill. So, an omnibus bill tends to tidy up legislation across multiple pieces of legislation. And
Right.
those bills are very vital to go through the select committee because that's what a select committee would do. So, you don't end up having a law stating, on a motorway, you must drive at 60 kilometres an hour. On a motorway, you're not allowed to drive over 60. But putting a minimum and a maximum the same, what happens if you have to sit there and have an emergency stop? Or a crash?
Right.
And that's what select committees make sure you don't have contradictory laws. Doesn't always go good in practice. The next bill to go through on there is the Regulatory Systems Education Amendment Bill. And what the principle behind this particular bill's another omnibus bill. So this bill amends the legislation administered by the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, and joint administered by the Ministry of Culture and Heritage and the Ministry of Justice. The bill is to maintain changes within the particular acts, and that has gone into second reading.
If we do that, it'll also make it a bit clearer.
If I actually,
Hey.
so yes, when I want to do this, we've got to zoom it to 125%.
Okay.
We're working this out as we go.
Exactly. That's the joys of a first episode.
And here's something interesting. When that bill was introduced, Jean Tinetti was the Minister of Education.
Well, look, an entire year ago. It
So
takes
it's
a while,
taken
doesn't
a
it?
long time to go through its select committee process. The fact that we've ended up with going through there, so it's had a bit of a time on the Education Workforce Select Committee.
One thing we forgot to ask ourselves is any of the current ones stuck in first reading, do we think they're likely to go through anywhere else?
I would say the previous bill we had that was at first reading, I'm pretty sure it's going to pass, considering it passed the House unanimously. There wasn't even a split motion on the vote. So when you've got the whole House agreeing, that's usually a good sign. And I'm not sure if that's a standard practice as omnibus bills. But actually, here's something that's useful to sit there and watch is... So what was the Select Committee report? The work for... this is at 150%. So the education workforce examined the regulatory systems and recommended unanimously that it passes, recommended all recommendations. Proposed amendments were... Cool, there's some interesting stuff going. Governor General to appoint additional board members, which does that actually say? Oh, okay, one of them said, okay. Amendments to the Pacific Foundation Act, defining Aotearoa Pacific person was an amendment put through. Unspecified expenditure, but okay.
What I do find about some of these bills that have got a lot of stuff in them is quite a lot of the time it will be unanimous for like one or two readings and then everyone will start not liking it as some of the stuff's added inside.
Yes.
That's what I've found before.
Yeah, and take a look at who was on the select committee. The current Minister of Education at the time when that report was done. So that's actually take a look at who else is on there.
Yes. Text inserted unanimously. Text deleted unanimously. Okay.
Okay.
The
So
irony.
that bill is currently at Committee of the Whole, which is still probably yet to be weighted on. So, but I wonder if that did it. Does it say on? It will say on here. We'll go down into there. We go straight down to the bottom. The bill passed its second reading unanimously.
Cool.
So-
Okay.
So I think that's, as I say, it's another omnibus bill. It's another one that's passed all sides of the House, no trouble. Now, here's one that will get... Oh, now this,
Hold on.
Now this
Hold on.
we've got two sections for this bill.
Before we move on, what does it mean by being at the Committee of Whole?
Okay, so Committee of Whole is like what we saw in Part 1. Is so that's when the debate is controlled by a deputy speaker or below, who chairs the meeting, and each party can go debating the clauses one by one. They can put amendments forward and that sort of thing.
Right.
And that's the last chance to make changes on the bill, is at Committee of the Whole.
Okay, cool.
For many government bills, they're quite boring. It's usually the ones that tend to actually have the more enthusiasm is conscience votes bills, like trying to sit down there, and the euthanasia one Greg O'Connor told me was they were like trying to put poisonous chalice amendments is the non-political term, but they were trying to sit down there and break apart the different bills.
Ah, right.
Yeah, so that's something in there. So this is the So the next bill is the road users charge one, which has entered a bit of controversy recently in the law, and it has a lot. It had quite a few amendments put in there. One of them was regarding the road users tax for plug-in hybrids. Mentioned that many plug-in hybrids would only be able to achieve 30 kilometres an hour. No, not 30 kilometres an hour. 30 kilometres in distance before it shifts into a hybrid mode from electric only mode. So there were, and this was the one where apparently there was an amendment that was accidentally added in that was a mistake.
Oh,
Yeah, this is apparently, I'm not, however, the government's actually dealt with the
I know a
amendment.
bit about this, so I can.
Yeah, Blake, go ahead, because you were following this one like a hawk.
Yeah, so Andy Foster, the MP for, I think it's Taurua, representing New Zealand first on the list. Apologies if I got the town wrong, but he basically in the committee room, he somehow, I don't know all the detail, but he somehow accidentally said yes on behalf of New Zealand first when he was supposed to say that he didn't want to do it. So
oh,
he caused a huge problem, and he got slaughtered by the mainstream media for it. Yeah.
Yeah, there was it was something about the bill passed unanimously or something, but it was meant to be one that was it basically reduced the road user charges for plug-in hybrids from, it was $52 I think per 1,000 kilometres down to $38 per 1,000. So 5.2 cents per kilometre down, went from there down to 3.8. I do also know that with the road users, EVs would be getting charged at the same rate as a 3.5 tonne diesel, which is the maximum you can go up to, of $76 per 1,000 kilometres or 7.6 cents per K.
Yeah, I do feel a bit sorry for Mr. Foster because it's not a good look for New Zealand first.
He's a good man, Andy. I like him. Well, but yeah, no, the first start of it, that would have been a bit of a rocky start of what happens, especially when you've got a newish committee chair. But I mean, that's what happens when you have like half of Parliament seats changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one because the fact is, in our Thursday one, it's gone into So on the 27th, it went through the committee of the House, and on the 28th, it went for its third reading, and we're just going to wait for royal assent to be signed. Which, hey, Governor General is also allowed to take Easter off.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the surprising thing about this whole journey with Andy Foster's mistake is Mr. Brown ended up agreeing to it, what was quite surprising. He didn't go back and say, "Oh, actually, we'll try again." But even if he wanted to go back and fix it, I think it was too far gone that he couldn't anyway. So he kind of had no choice but to take it.
And I think it was also the scene on there was a unanimous thing about it was kind of unanimous where they sat on it as a party. Yeah, so there were 4 amendments that were amended papers that were put to the Act. So there were 4 amendments. So this... But yeah, that Act's only 2012. Oh, okay, so that's in that particular one. Does this one have more information? Not really. But yeah, so that was something on there was about the changes to road user charges and more of the controversy of the way it was done. Any other comments from the team before we move on to the next item?
No, I'm good.
Actually, if you scroll down just slightly on your page, Sam, to where there, stop. So just to point out the difference in speeds at which things can go through Parliament. Are we on the same page? Yes. I don't know why yours is committee is highlighted. That's interesting.
Oh no, that's probably the one I've pressed because that's the section because
you've clicked it to pull that up. Okay.
Yeah, and then on Thursday it had its third reading.
Right, but yeah, just to show the difference in how long things can take. This bill was only introduced on the last day of February this year. This has happened within a month. The previous one that we were on, the education amendments,
it's taken
over a year. So yeah, just to point, like, things can happen really quickly or they can take a really long time.
And actually, the road user charges bill that was meant to be amending comes into effect today. Don't ask me how that actually works without Cindy's signature on it or Charles's.
To my knowledge, it can't go into effect until she's done it.
Yeah, but it does state the date that it goes into effect.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the thing is, it might legally go into effect tomorrow because today's a public holiday.
Yeah,
because they do have things in there that bills that if there is a thing like they go into effect on certain days, or they tend to have it like I know when they removed youth rates from the Minimum Wage Act, it like passed in like November or December, but it didn't come into effect till the 1st of April the following year.
Yeah.
I don't know when it got royal assent though, because I remember ringing up the Department of Labour and they sat there and said the bill may have not been given royal assent. We do not know what you're talking about. This is me when I was like 16 years old or 17. Yeah. But yeah, it would actually the interesting part is does this tell us how it passed when it Hansard. So let's look at the committee of the whole Hansards. Now, the more
Really?
interesting part gets down here is the votes at the end. So, part one's amendment. Oh, what were?
I do also believe you're in the first part, the first reading, as opposed to the final.
I'm at Committee of the House.
Oh, okay.
So this is going through all the amendments. So there were all these amendments put through from different members that basically were voted down. So pretty much there were all these amendments. So the first amendment replacing was voted, which is replacing the clauses, basically putting in a change. I don't know what the clause were meant to be, but it was voted down, which you can tell by looking at the breakdown. I'll actually just.
Yeah, that's a little bit better.
Yeah, the amendment 2 by Julian Genter was voted down, but I don't know what Amendment 26 was. Amendment 25 was also voted down. There was a bit of squabbling between Arena Williams and the chair.
From memory, Labour were quite happy because they got a lot of amendments they weren't thinking they would get.
I think they got more at Select Committee than what they actually got at Committee of the House. And yeah, it's pretty much like everything we're going through, every amendment they're trying to put forward, basically. Amendment to Part 2B was ruled inconsistent because it's out of scope of the amendment bill. No, it wasn't ruled out. It was ruled inconsistent. Then there was another one about there that got voted down. Another inserting an extension to the period of exemption got voted down. Transitional period before universal RUCs are agreed with got voted down. Now, some of these amendments and they're going deleting like to be agreed to. I wonder if that's actually. I wonder what that was like. Was that trying to make diesel vehicles exempt from road users? I don't know. There was an amendment to replace the 1st of April with the 8th of May. Oh, that's an interesting date because the 8th of May, I think, is a provisional tax day. And I think it's also when the GST is due for the February-March returns. And this was another one, was an amendment. Yeah, there was just a lot. There was a lot of amendments that were voted down at Committee of the House.
Right.
Oh, well, that's interesting to know. So that's. Don't ask me when it's meant to get royal ascended if the laws are meant to come into force today.
I guess we'll never know.
Yeah. It's,
We'll find out tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
Oh, bye, Sam.
What's he done?
Okay. I think Sam might have accidentally exited his entire browser, which is what we run through. So hopefully he'll be back in a moment because I have no idea what to do next. Right, there's Sam. He's got his hand on his forehead. You closed your entire browser, didn't you, Sam?
Not quite. So I tried to close the browser on the left-hand side of the screen, and it ended up leaving Restream instead. Because I was doing screen sharing. Because I was trying to get to the right page. Leave. No. It was like, technology.
Yeah.
We've got to have the fun stuff that goes with it. So, yeah, let's move on to Thursday. This is, get the right... Now, this is where things get a bit interesting here. Because Thursday, literally one of the bills that passed first reading on Thursday was ironically the bill we were just talking about at Committee of the House on Wednesday, which just shows that if you have a government sitting day on effectively if you have second reading on Tuesday, Committee House on Wednesday, and third reading on Thursday, you can have a bill go through 3 stages in a week without going under urgency.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to...
One moment, please, caller.
We can
we
only
have
see.
Mr. Bill.
There we go.
Sam, we have Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill.
Yes, Missed a Bill, not Mr. Bill. Misuse of drugs pseudoephedrine amendment bill.
Oh,
You're
yes.
welcome.
It's all right.
I was going, oh no, did I pull things up onto my other screen in the wrong order?
Okay, so this bill also passed Committee of the House and on the Wednesday, but did not get rid of third reading on Thursday. They must have ran out of
Right.
time. Oh! Okay. The purpose of this bill is to change the classification of pseudoephedrine as a controlled drug so that cold and flu products containing pseudoephedrine can be sold at pharmacies without a script.
Right, which I had actually seen all over Twitter, all over Facebook, all over Reddit, and the general public are not impressed with this.
Yes, yeah.
Well, how do you guys feel? Because I'm in favour of it coming back if they can sort out something where they can't use it for other stuff. Like
Well, that's easier said than done.
Yes, exactly.
Like
Which is exactly why the general public is basically up in arms about it.
Yeah, it's so it's awaiting to go through third reading.
Put it this way, as someone that relies on a lot of medication, I would be in favour of it if they can find a way, as I say, not to do the other stuff.
I mean, the question would be is where it could actually be sold. Because the other thing is, pharmacies were subjected to ram raids of it when it was previously in law.
Yeah, the better
Wow.
way to have done, in my view, would to have on prescription only, and
Which is what the current law states.
yeah,
And
and
this
leave
is
it.
trying to take it away from prescription only to no prescription at all.
Yeah, but leave it how it is then in that case.
Yeah, it's so that's the principle of the law, which, I mean, I'm someone who has been known to take cold and flu stuff when I'm sick. Trust me, it's not cheap.
No,
when
it's
when
really
you've got no
not.
money, you can't buy it. It's like it's a medication that you can get if you've got funds. It's not like you cannot get it if you don't have funds. But yeah, no. So there were. So this will be third reading. But it's not third reading. Committee of the House. So Committee of the House had 2 amendment papers put in. So this amendment paper was from Dr. Ayesha Verrill, former Minister of Health. Oh. Well, what is the amendment paper? That's what I want to know. Oh, heck. What was the amendment? Amendment 27. Well, obviously it must have not passed. Oh, where is it? Oh, well.
Even if it didn't pass, it should be on there somewhere.
Yeah, no. Where is it? It'll be the head. Oh.
You can definitely tell this is the first time we've done this.
Trying to find the Hansard.
That looks like
So-
a transcript to me.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Gee, David Seymour has so many ministerial titles.
Yes. So you were saying about cold and flu medication,
Yes.
and I just remembered that I had Ethics labelled cold and flu relief plus decongestant in my drawer from the last time I was crook, right? Which has paracetamol and phenylephrine. Phenylephrine, there we go. So I was wondering what the difference is between phenylephrine and pseudoephedrine. And
The core component ingredient to make pee.
well, see, so I googled, right? Google is my friend. Official answer: the most important difference between phenylephrine and pseudoephedrine is that phenylephrine is ineffective at relieving nasal congestion, whereas there is some evidence that oral pseudoephedrine is effective. So now my really big question is, what is the point in taking this medication if it's not going to unblock my nose? Because
Yeah,
that's
that's-
usually the point in why I take it, so that I can actually be like, speak viably.
And you probably have sat there and said it's been successful with working with you over the years.
I don't take it very often. Like
Yeah.
I think so this thing, right? So I think maybe
Oh, show that back
the
on
last
screen.
time I took it was when I had COVID. I think.
Yep, I think I remember around that point. Yeah.
And like at that point I was so crook I didn't feel like anything helped. But so okay. Right. But back to the point, Sam, have you figured out what we're doing here?
Well, we definitely. So I found where the amendments are. So by the looks of it, Dr. Aisha Verrill's amendment did not pass. Still want to know what it was meant to achieve, but we know it didn't pass.
Right.
And even the Greens didn't support it.
That is shocking for them. I would have thought they would have.
No, it's because Greens are for safe drug use,
yeah, of
proven
course.
safe drug use. Pseudoephedrine makes unsafe drugs, which
course,
they
yeah.
are against.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So the bill has on the order paper to go for third reading. Actually, it's number 4 on the order paper for the next sitting day of the House.
And the next sitting day is the 9th.
Yes.
Ah,
Yeah. So 2 Tuesdays away, you can watch the bill go through the House.
there we go.
Okay, I think we can move. Should we move on to Thursday now?
I believe so.
Okay, so Thursday was an interesting day. Now, Thursday's a day that you tend to you rush to pass that third reading, as we consider the road users amendment. Was it road user charges bill? House tends to adjourn earlier. Don't know why they adjourned at 6 p.m. because I do know recently the last term they changed it so they can adjourn at 5 p.m. so some MPs can catch their flights because they couldn't necessarily get home on the Thursday otherwise.
I was watching that afternoon and I can't remember there was a particular reason why they went an hour over.
Oh, so it was an hour over, kind of purposely, but not.
Yeah, they're still 5 o'clock generally, but
I wonder if it was to pass the road users amendment bill.
they've from recollection, they've gone over twice since they've come back.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
Yeah, so they introduced a new bill called the was it Te Pare Mo o Rako Te
Do you want me to take this part, Sam?
Yes.
Right. Te pere mo o rako te... Wow, don't move it on me. te... Now you lost me. Te pere o Momahara o rako Remembrance Bill.
So that's a new bill that's been added onto the order paper. That one we don't know yet. We'll deal with that when that actually gets a reading. But the three bills that went through Parliament that day was the road users charges, light electric road users charges amendment bill was read for a third time. The fisheries, international fishery and other matters amendment bill was read for a first time. And the Māori Fisheries Amendment Bill was interrupted. So let's go to the road. Well, we've had a very good talk about the road users charge bill. So let's actually now get to the more fun part of the Hansard. Let's see. Oh, they haven't actually uploaded the Hansard for the third reading.
Yeah, I think that's because it's not finished yet.
Yeah, but the bill's passed.
Oh.
But maybe, possibly, because it was on Thursday and it's now a very long weekend.
Yeah.
Like, to the point, schools are getting a 5-day weekend. Schools don't go back until Wednesday this year.
Yeah, it always happens when Easter's in a funny place.
Yes. So maybe because of the extra long weekend, it just hasn't been uploaded because everyone's gone home.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah, or maybe it goes through to be checked over with the people who made the speeches. I don't know. We can find out from Greg O'Connell one day.
One day.
So yes, we definitely know the bill happens. I wonder how it went on the passing. I'll go to see if we can actually watch it on demand. We can find the final section in there on demand. It's a great about Parliament's website. I'll turn that off to. Oh no,
Hello.
I remember there was a problem. I remember what happened last time. Okay, so I have to change the way we share this. Okay, so now I've got it. Yeah, it's got to be changed the way it's shared, because if I don't share it this way, the audio doesn't come through.
Right.
So the fun part would be I think this is where the voting part.
More, but Madam Chair, I'm happy to commend this bill to the House. Thank you.
The question is, and we'll have quiet during voting, please. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. A party vote has been called for. Would the clerk please conduct a party vote? And apart from the clerk speaking, we will have silence.
New Zealand National.
49 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
4 votes in favour.
Green Party of Aotearoa New Zealand.
15 votes opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
11 votes in favour.
New Zealand First.
8 votes in favour.
Te Pāti Māori.
6 votes opposed. The ayes are 102, the noes are 21. The motion is agreed.
Road User Charges Light Electric RUC Vehicles Amendment Bill, third reading.
I call on Government Order of the Day number 2.
Okay, I think that kind of
Yeah.
Two drivers in the seat. I think that kind of sits down there and says exactly how the bill passed. So the bill passed, but we gather who was not in favour of it. So pretty much it was just Te Pāti Māori and Greens who were against the bill.
It's nice to see Labour and National agree on something.
On something.
Once in a while, yes. Now, this one is the Fisheries Amendment Bill. Actually, let's get back to a share screen. Okay. So the Fisheries International Fishing Matters Bill is at a first reading. And this bill is to amend the Fisheries Act 1996 to enable New Zealand to better meet its international fisheries, fishing and management and compliance obligations in relation to the IUU fishing and to improve efficiency and clarity over statutory provisions associated in the bill. And the bill has passed to its first reading, and we don't have Hansard.
Oh, of course. It's looking like we may not have the Hansard for most of Thursday then.
Yeah. Oh, well, that happens. But yeah. But what does it say on the bill? Read the. I think the summary part at the top kind of sat there and has spelt it out. Obviously, it's off to select committee. It probably hasn't had the bills open yet because it happened on Thursday. I think we might have to just gloss over.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the latest one is a Māori. Was it the Māori Fisheries Amendment Bill? This bill is to change the Māori Fisheries Act 2004 to give effects to the recommendations of Te Arohakai Moana, which conducts a review of the settlement entity, and the changes intend to give iwi a greater degree of rangatitanga over their assets and to improve benefits to all Māori, reduce costs and efficiencies, and that bill.
And that word is rangatiratanga, just so that you're aware. Yep.
Okay. In my head I said it right, but clearly I said it wrong.
I do the same thing very often.
Yeah, and
the important part is that people are trying.
So that bill went through second reading and got interrupted.
Right.
So that's gone through second reading, and we only got the first reading Hansards. Actually, let's take a look at the select committee. The select committee one actually might be the more interesting one. Is reports and advice amendment. Does it have a select committee report?
That was a very big bang inside my house. I'll be back in a moment.
Wonder which cat did that. Oh, I can't read it. Okay, nice. We've got the okay. I've got to the English section which I can read. It's good that it's in Te Ao Māori, even that I can't read half of it.
We'll learn together, Sam. Don't worry.
There were 20. So they went to pass all amendments except for one, which was passed by a majority. Proposed amendments. So proposed amendments was enabling representative Māori organisation to vote to appoint and remove TOKM directors. Clarifying levy making powers.
Cool.
Clarifying who holds shares in Aotearoa's Fisheries Limited. Changes to statutory review requirements. removing the Crown from being an exempt third party. So there were a couple of views differing. So effectively that bill was done before. By the sound, what? That bill looks like it was done before the Yeah, that bill actually looks like it was actually done from.
Have they got it in the wrong order?
No. This bill looks like it was from the previous Parliament.
53, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, heck, that bill was introduced in 2022. Heck, that's a long time for a bill to go through its process to get somewhere. Yeah. But boy, that is a long time for that bill's been going through Parliament, and that's a government bill, I think, as well.
That's one of the longest ones I've seen in ages.
Yeah. I mean, it's just basically stalled at second reading because it's been available for second reading since March. Oh, no! It opened for select committee on March last year.
Did it get tossed out?
No, I don't think it got tossed out. I think it just basically took its time to sit there and go through the case, go through its process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going on there. Oh well, let's sit down there and move on. Let's go on to the more funner part of what's coming up, and I hope Stacey's back soon because this is where she might have some interest in here. So
Hello, what's going on?
Yes, so this is the fun part which I think you will like. It is when bills come up for submission.
Ah, right.
So the Gang Legislation Amendment Bill has submissions closed this Friday, and effectively they want submissions on this. We recommend everyone should, you should be open to putting in submissions and you should put them through. The proposement of the bill that's awaiting at the Justice Committee at the moment, the bill proposes to reduce harm caused by gangs and make the community safer. I will boost up the font. Oh, no, we're at 125%. So the bill proposed it would do by creating a new criminal offence that will prohibit the display of gang insignia in public places, create new dispersal powers to stop gang meetings gathering in public places, which would require specific people to leave an area and not associate with them for 7 days. I hope that doesn't happen at It's the Ballot show. Creating a new non-consorting order to stop specific gang offenders from consorting, which would require specific people to not associate and communicate with each other for 3 years. I hope that is done by a court. Put in a submission and creating a new making gang membership an aggravating factor in sentencing. So, and the legislator to hold that bill is Paul Goldsmith. So, if you want to put in that bill, sorry, Stacey, we're coming.
No, you're all right.
If you'd like to sit there and put a submission on that bill, you have until this Friday at midnight to sit there and put that into the bill. So, any opinions on that particular bill from our panel?
That justice one, it's anything to stop them at the crime is good by me. That's all I'll say on that one.
Yeah, I'm mixed about it. I mean, personally, I'm not. I don't think I'm informed enough to put in a submission on that one.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of talk about making gang membership an aggravating factor at sentencing is already a thing. Like it's already in law that being a gang member is an aggravating factor at sentencing. So therefore, you will get a harsher punishment for being a gang member.
yeah. So I wonder if it may also be a what's it called? Suspect member,
Wow.
a suspected member. I wonder if that's what the bill is aiming for.
I'm not sure if I'm a fan of gang affiliation being a factor or not. I'm still undecided on that.
Well, it determines what is an affiliation member of a gang. Like, that's the big question. I mean, like, put it this way. I used to work at BP Levin. Gang members bought petrol. Does that mean I'm a gang member? You know what I mean? Yourself, Stacey, didn't you go to school with...
Many.
what was it?
Many. No, we're not going to get into that. But
yeah, you know what I mean, you know?
The area that I grew up in had a lot of gang members in it, yes, and I went to school with a lot of their children.
Yeah, exactly. You know, yeah, exactly. So does that mean if you go to the same school, would you be a gang member? There's a lot of like, you know, I'd like to know how they would actually anticipate that. Like, what would they actually do to say, you know, what would be classed as a gang membership? Like, would that actually be an actual, like, you know, like, do you have a set of small minutes to say you've been approved as a member to a gang? You know? Or is it because such and such person at the police station thinks you're in one, so that means it's an aggravating factor? Or we can get to a worse one. What do you call it? The nosy receptionist that wins?
Yeah. Right. I would hope that it is something more like, we have concrete proof that you continuously hang out with said person, therefore you are affiliated with said gang. But even living in Wellington, like, there are so many gang members from so many different gangs.
Right.
It's really hard not to have at least a sort of acquaintanceship with a gang member.
Because
so when I was a teenager, I was doing the bar and restaurant school, right? Some of the people in my class were gang members. Some of the people that are gang members, I am still friends with. Does that therefore make me an affiliate of the gang, even though I have nothing to do with what they do?
Yeah. You're so right. Or, you know, what happens if a gang member stands for office and appears on it in the ballot? Which they can legally do.
They can legally do.
Yes, there is nothing stopping them from standing for office under our current law. Unless they don't have New Zealand citizenship.
I mean, the way I look at it is it also has to take into account what kind of, I know this is going to sound a bit funny, but what kind of gang they are. Because there are gangs that help people in a good way and not a violent way. So that needs to be, in my opinion, taken into account as well. The gangs that help the community. Because not all gangs are violent all the time. So that needs to be accounted for me.
No, it's what they actually do, not simply just having the word gang next to their name.
Yes.
You know, so basically it needs to more delve into what they actually do within the gang. Like Harry Tam, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's actually a positive one. Now, here's another one that's going through submission process. good old Nicole McKee, Lucky Nicole. You seem to have a lot of, Nicole features in two lots today. So it's the Courts Remote Participation Amendment Bill. And the bill itself is to propose to increase remote participation in our courts. Nicole McKee is a very interesting person on there. So this could be to enable. It would enable more visual proceedings in courts. This aims to improve access to judges and support the efficiency and timely resolution of court proceedings. The aim is also to reduce travel times and costs for participants. So, I don't know. That sounds like a positive one. That sounds like a good, this is something in there. This is what I like about Nicole McKee is she actually comes up with some damn good legislation.
So basically, it's more virtual court appearances rather than in person, is what I'm.
Especially for status hearings, that makes complete sense. Like I know people who had to, to do a status hearing, they would have to travel from Paraparaumu to Porirua to go and sit there and be in front of a judge for a minute and then drive back.
Yeah, and of course, for people like me who find it difficult to leave the house, it's good too.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like I can picture, say, if you went to sit there and go to a courtroom, it could be a 2-hour affair each way, at least.
Yeah.
And that doesn't take into account what else could happen on the way.
Yeah.
So, this is one that I believe will be...
I like this. What about you, Stacey?
I was putting all the links up, so I'm just quickly rereading the thing, and actually, it's a really good idea. Like, the entire world got so used to doing everything remotely. Whether it was work, it was shopping, it was entertainment. Why not make it easier for people? Because I know that a lot of the reason that a lot of people don't go to court is because they can't afford to get there, and therefore they have warrants put out for them for their arrest for not turning up to their court date. If we let people go remotely, exactly like we are doing right now, none of us are in the same house. We're not
even in the same city council boundaries.
Exactly. So if we let people participate remotely in court, it means they will actually be able to go. They don't have to spend $20 on travel and parking and potentially sorting out babysitters and all of that sort of thing so that they can go to court. They can just use their phone, which almost every single person in the country has a smartphone these days, and they can go to court. I reckon it's a great idea.
And if they don't have a smartphone, they've at least got an iPad or tablet or something of that nature computer.
Exactly.
There's a tool to make it happen, even if it is the lawyer coming to the house to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like you, Nicole. You always come up with good legislation.
Now, people may argue, some elderly don't have technology and stuff, but
but that shouldn't stop a legislation going through.
Right, and realistically, how often are elderly people arrested and sent to court as opposed to young people?
Not very often, no. But
exactly,
that's one of the arguments that will come out about this.
Yes.
I will be curious to see if there's any negative submissions like that come out.
Yeah, and as Sam said, there will be a way to make it happen, even if it means the lawyer going around to their house and letting them use a device.
Yeah.
Oh, well, and then here's the last one. Nicole, you're a famous person again. Yeah, and it is the Firearms Prohibition Order Legislation Amendment Bill. And the bill proposed is to prevent people whose behaviour and actions represent a high risk of violence from being able to access firearms or restricted weapons in order to prove public safety. This bill will introduce firearms prohibition orders, which would prevent a high-risk person from legally accessing or using firearms or restricted weapons. It would also prohibit a high-risk person from associating with people with physical possession of firearms or reside at or visit locations where firearms are held at, including gun shops, arm fairs, or gun clubs. The FPOs would continue to be enforced for 10 years and would take effect on the date when the order is made or the date on which the offender is released from custody after serving a term imprisonment. This bill is online on the related links.
I like that.
As long as it doesn't, as long as it does, I beg your pardon, enable the likelihood of another terror thing to not happen, I'm in favour of it. If it does, then I'm not in favour.
I don't think the intention behind that would actually enable that. But yes, Nicole McKee, another sensible bill. You know, that is something out of there. Every time I see Nicole McKee actually post, have things on there, I really like what she's about. And the sorts of legislation, it's just common sense.
And it's sad that you don't get many of those good politicians anymore, and she's one of them, I found.
She is definitely one who, I did wish she did appear on It's in the Ballot, but I'll be honest, I do believe my dad speaks very highly of her, and my dad's known her right back into her early days of when she learned how to do shooting. And he's always spoken very highly of Nicole, and it's basically the stuff that you keep sitting there and seeing she's coming up with is about stuff that it will last. It will last generations. The stuff she's trying to do, by the looks of it, is going to last generations into law.
She might, by the end of her time, she could be the most influential politician of the last few years.
Yeah. She's going to go down as probably one who's, she's going to have a mark that's going to last on the country a long time. Yeah. Okay, well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we better sit down there and get to the fun part of calling it a show. Thank you for those who are watching online who have participated and those who have been part of it. Please make sure you get out there and put in your submissions. Thank you to Blake and Stacey for being part of the show today and enjoying the grueling part of a pilot. I'm pretty sure we're probably going to have a good 10 to 15 minutes to work out how to make this a better show at the end of it, because I think we've got a lot of room for improvement. But you've got to have a pilot. You've got to see how things go. It's not until another week away till there's another sitting day. So there's a lot on there, and we can work out what we can do and improve it on. And good day of doing it. Having an April Fool's Day when everything becomes serious.
Right. And actually, right, before we go, watching the show, you will have noticed that there's been a QR code in the corner the entire time that we've been live. That is for our Patreon. If you are able and you want to help support us, please come and join us over in Patreon. It will give you access to an exclusive Discord channel for either tier. And for our current top tier, we are also planning on having one-on-one members interviews. So that will give you early access to the interview. They will be recorded only. They will not be live streamed like this. So you will get early access to those interviews before they go live every Sunday after they have been recorded. And so if you are able, please come and join us over there, and hopefully at some point we'll see you in the Discord.
And our first interview is going to be James Shaw.
Oh, fantastic.
We are just trying to nut out the details because they've just suggested a time that doesn't exactly work on our end.
Okay.
But it's been trying to. It was originally planned for in person. It looks like it's going to be remote because this coming week is not a sitting week. So we're just nutting out the details and trying to have it ready. And we will make that first interview once it's recorded. We're going to make it available. Once we've gone through the editing, have James's tick of approval or thumbs up. We'll have that live immediately. We won't hold it off till the following Sunday, just so you can have an idea of what the first interview is on there and shows you what you can get. And hopefully we'll have a few more interested MPs coming on board with different bills and all that sort of thing, because what happens in the House, we also want to showcase what happens with the members' bills and that sort of thing as well. So find out what's happening on the members' bills, not just what's happening on the government bills as well, because the members' bills are the ones that they fix up things that people that are wrong, that could be wrong and wrong there and needs to tighten up. Ginny Anderson had the bill that gave miscarriages this bereavement leave. Previously, a miscarriage was not treated as bereavement. That's one private member's bill. Another one was the euthanasia member's bill. Another one, if we get delved right back into about 15, 20 years ago, Sue Bradford's anti-smacking bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I believe I will be on some of those interviews. So if people want to see more of me, they can find me there, right, Sam?
On the what was the name of the site, Blake?
The members' bills, the interviews.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, so let's kick it off for today. Thank you, Stacey and Blake, for being part of us, and let's see you next time for the order paper. Have a great day.
Okay. Thanks, Sam.
The order paper, your express ticket to the New Zealand House of Representatives. Every episode, we unravel the complex world of legislation, debate, and democracy. From bills to select committees, we've got it all covered. From our team of political commentators who will dissect and explain what's happened so you can remain up to date on what's happened in the Aotearoa New Zealand Parliament. To support our channel, you can become a Patreon member at patreon.com/it'sintheballot. The Order Paper podcast is brought to you by It's in the Ballot Productions, live at 12 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time every Monday.